Hi, it's Jo from Minerva. Today we're going to do a sew along of a skirt, and the skirt that I've chosen is the Brumby Skirt by Megan Nielsen Patterns. I like this skirt because it's got really deep pockets. It's got options to use lots of different fabrics, so it can be for different seasons. So I'm going to make it in a linen today for summer wear, but this one here is a denim, so you can choose a chambray for summer, a denim for winter, a canvas for winter. So you can make a lot of different styles of skirt and skirts for different seasons using different fabrics. There's an element of top stitching there which will hold my interest, keep my sewing skills going. Pattern goes from size 0 to 20. That's a 24-inch waist up to a 38-inch waist. And there's a midi length, a mini length and a longer length. And you can change the lengths of the skirt depending on if you want the pocket or not. If you've not used a Megan Nielsen pattern before, the pattern comes on tissue paper, like a big 4 pattern, and you get a pattern booklet that gives you all the instructions and some sizing information, cutting layouts, great finished garment measurements, which is useful. And then you've got diagrams for your instructions. So this is the pocket procedure. So you've got a little picture to help you along with the instructions. It's not too difficult, but it is just a little step up from a normal pencil skirt, which is why I'm interested in having a go at it. I'm a sucker for wearing navy, so I have chosen a one of the Minerva core range linens in a mustard colour, because mustard and navy go together in my world. So this has been pre-washed, so you can see it's a little bit wrinkly, but it's got that linen texture, that real sort of natural look. So that's the fabric that I'm going to choose. This comes in lots of different colours, and the products are listed below, so you can check out the other colours. The key skills in today's skirt are applying pockets, top stitching, and putting in an exposed zip. So this skirt has got an exposed zip in the back, so this is a metal toothed one. And I'm going to show you how to put that in so that you can see the teeth, and that's a feature on the back of the skirt. First up, we're going to cut out over at the cutting table, and there'll be some little tips that pop up as I'm speeding along. pattern is to work the pocket bags, so I'm going to change to my tabletop view. So we'll be looking for the pocket piece that has the curve cut out on it, and the front pocket pieces with the curve cut out. And if you're working with linen, this particular one, then you might want to be overlocking or zigzagging your edges before you start, depending on how much fraying you're getting. I think I'm going to work mine as we go along. So the first job is to match the notches on the side with the notches on the side of the skirt and put the pocket piece in place. The seam allowances for this pattern are 1.5 centimetres. If you're working with a fabric that doesn't have an obvious right and wrong side, which I am today, you can keep sort of laying out your pieces as they would be on your body, and that helps. Or you can put a little safety pin in the right side, which is what I do sometimes. And so I have a safety pin. So when I see the safety pin, I know I'm sewing on the right side. I'm sewing on the correct side, should I say, because otherwise I might put these pockets on and I might have my front top stitch seam the wrong way, so it might be a bit of unpicking. So I want to avoid that by knowing which is my right side and which is my wrong side. Right, when the pocket is sewn on, I've just done a little bit of overlocking as well, because I was getting a little bit of fraying with linen. I'm just going to clip this curve. And I'm going to turn this pocket out, and I don't want it to be all sort of puckered. Try not to go into the stitching, and you really don't want to go too close with linen because you get another little bit of open weave. And then we're going to turn this pocket and press it. Don't have your iron too hot with this linen or you get like shiny patches. So I'm going to press the pocket and top stitch. Now it says 1.2 centimetres, but it's your choice. If you want a really chunky casual look, you can make your top stitch a bit wider, or if you want it to be a bit neater, a little bit more formal, then you can sew your top stitch a little bit closer. Next, with your skirt with the wrong side facing up, you're going to put the pocket bag over the top of your pocket so that from the right side you've got that lovely deep pocket, and you can match up the sides. I haven't quite finished pinning there. There's notches on the sides to make sure that you're catching all parts. And what I like about Megan Nielsen patterns is they tell you things that might happen, so mistakes that you might make. So it's saying take care here, because it's easy when you're working on this side to have this facing piece the wrong side up, so when you turn it over you've got the wrong side of the fabric there because you're so busy looking at the right side here that you put it on the wrong way around. So I like the way that her pattern tries to eliminate the mistakes that you can make, and there's lots of those throughout Megan Nielsen patterns and options for you to try. Okay, she also says in the pattern, beware now that you only sew the pocket bag to the pocket facing. You're not sewing anything to the skirt just yet. Okay, in the instructions it goes from doing 2 front pieces to a waistband and then back to a front piece again. So I'm just going to finish the front piece by doing the centre seam, and this is where you want to have some really nice top stitching. So line up your 2 front panels. Again, if you're using a fabric that is not distinguishable between front and back, just double check everything, that you've got the seam on the right side, on the correct side should I say, And then we're going to stitch the centre front seam and then top stitch the centre front seam. Okay, that's the centre front done. It's got a top stitch down the centre. I've just overlocked all the pieces together. So on the reverse, I've got all the components of the skirt on the front. I'm going to put that aside and work on the waistband. You're going to make 2 individual waistbands. You're going to make one that is all interfaced and one that isn't, by attaching the short ends together. To make one waistband that's interfaced, and then you're going to do the same with one that's not interfaced. Okay, so that's the waistbands all prepped. So there's my one and my interfaced one, and those are to set aside. So we're going to assemble the main part of the skirt, and then we can go back to the waistband pieces. Right, we're going to start assembling the skirt. So with the skirt right side up, it's my safety pin right side up, I am going to put the skirt backs onto the skirt front. Now, you should have one notch, which is your zip marking, and you should have 2 notches on this side, there they are, that matches up to the pocket seam. So make sure you put the notches on, or you will not know which is the top and the bottom of your skirt piece. In fact, I actually wrote top on one of them, just so that I could be sure I'd got them the right way up. But really the notches is the way to know whether you've got them the right way up. And then we're going to sew the side seam so that we've got a complete skirt. Next, you're going to cut 2 little pieces of interfacing to support the zip at the back of the skirt. So this is the skirt piece, and you're going to put a little bit of interfacing at the back of the skirt. Now, I find it quite difficult to draw straight on into interfacing, so I made myself a little template. It's 8 inches long by 1 1/4 inches wide, and I can turn it over, pin it on and cut away. That seemed a better way of doing it than sort of dragging all the interfacing to the wrong sizing. Okay, it's time to add the gathers. Now, again, another good thing in this Megan Nielsen pattern is that they give you 2 ways to gather. So if you've got a light or medium weight fabric, then you can just do 2 rows of long length gathering stitches. So that's having your straight stitch on the longest length it will go, and you do 2 rows of stitches, and you can pull the bobbin threads and pull it through, and you can go through all the layers and have it in one long gather. If you've got a thicker fabric, so if you're working with denim or cord, and I'm kind of thinking I might need to do that on this linen, then it's showing you a different method, which is to zigzag over a cord. And just because that's different, I'll show you that today. The first thing you do is you're not going to use a straight stitch for this type of gather. You're going to use a wide zigzag. So I've got my zigzag width on 5 and my length on 3, because I want it to be a pretty loose zigzag. And I'm going to sew temporarily a piece of cord. This is just like a piece of curtain cord, or you could use just a piece of garden string, but it's just anything that's nice and thick that when you pull on it, it won't break. And then I'm going to zigzag over the cord, and I'll show you that close up. this is how it works. You hold the cord, and now it works like header tape on curtains if ever you've made curtains, but you're basically now that you've made like a little tube channel at the back, and the zigzag is on the front. I use it when I make the Lyra dress by Tilly and the Buttons, because the skirt gathers are so long, and if you're pulling on the tails and then it snaps, it's so annoying, because then you've got to start all the way back to zero, where you can give this quite a bit of hammer. The only thing you have to watch is that you absolutely don't sew into the cord, because then you'll add a stop, you know, then it won't run along. It's got to be completely free moving casing. I'm going to adjust these gathers to the width of the waist, the length of the waistband. Can also pull from the other end, so I'm not putting too much pressure on the stitches. And I'm going to readjust them to the length of the waistband, and also just for my shape, I want to keep them quite flat on the hip, so I don't mind having some gathers up to that side seam, but I don't really want any on it, because then I'll get a sort of sticking out tutu shape right on my hip, which I'm not keen on. So I'm going to just distribute the gathers where I want them. It's taken quite a bit of time, but it's worth it because I want those gathers to be even. But I've pinned all of the waistband, the one with the interfacing, all along the skirt, and I'm going to use a little pair of tweezers to help me get the gathers how I want them. So I'm going to sew 1.5 from the edge, and I'm going to use the tweezers to sort of manipulate my gathers and make sure that they're all lying flat. I can pull them in and out with the tweezers. I'm going to have my magnet available so that I can just throw the pins on, and I can try and keep it as flush as possible. I've got the cord, the gathering cord. I'm going to keep that out of the way because I'm going to pull that out when I've finished, so I need to make sure I don't sew it in anywhere. I'm sewing from the side that I can see the gathers, so that I can make sure that they're evenly distributed and I don't have one that's folding over and making a little crease. You will find it easier on a lighter weight fabric than on this thicker fabric, but it's worth taking the time to get it right. And there it is. You can see I've just flattened it out on the side seams, but I've kept the gathers nice and even on the rest. I've kept it quite flat around the zip area because I don't want to be trying to insert a zip around a load of gathers. So it's lovely and even, and now I can pull on the cord and pull the cord out, and that'll stop it feeling so bulky. And I'll keep that cord for when I next want to do one of those firm gathers. I've popped the cord back on the card because I want to keep that to use again. It's a 20mm Roman blind cord. The second part of the waistband goes on after the zip, so we're going to start to work on the zip on the back seam, but we'll keep the second bit of the waistband for finishing off at the end. Just clear up all of your threads because you don't want those catching in a zip. Okay, let's look at how to put in an exposed zip. Next, we're going to use that basting line to press the zip opening back. So that'll give us our zipper edge. So you just need to do that on the vertical lines. Try not to drag, try to press. And the same on the other side. The next part is to sew up the centre back seam. So from your horizontal basting stitch, you're going to start 1.5 centimetres in and sew down the back seam. Make sure you're still not on the basting length. Okay, with your skirt right side up, you're going to put your zipper face down onto your right side of your fabric, and you're going to put the zipper just below the zipper end stop, just below the basting line, so you can sew past the end of the zip stop but catch the fabric underneath. And you're not going to sew the full width of the zipper tape, you're only going to sew the width of the basting stitches. It's quite a critical sew, this. And when that's sewn across the end of there, all of the preparation will magically become clear, because you're going to flip the zip up so that the tail end points down to the hem, and your vertical folds run up each side of the zip. Now you can make sure that your waistband is matching here, and you can top stitch your zip in place. Of course, you don't have to put an exposed zipper in. You could just put an invisible zip in here if you didn't want to take the opportunity to make an exposed zip, or a dress zip would work as well. But it's quite nice on this sort of utility style to have something a bit different. Okay, the exposed zipper's in. Got a little bit of the zipper teeth showing on each side. The waistband seams matched up. Only thing I could have done better, I think, was maybe my zipper is just running off the centre line of the back skirt, and I think that's where I put the zipper on first, and I didn't quite find the basting stitches. It was quite hard because my basting thread was the same colour as my skirt. So I think if you made this, you need to make sure that's a really important step, to line that zipper up with those basting stitches right before you even start sewing the zip in. Right, just going to add on the waistband facing and hem our skirt. To apply the facing, you need to take special care around this zip area here. So line up the edge of your zip with the edge of the facing. You press up 1 inch all the way around your facing, waistband facing, and it should be quite quick to apply this, because you just match the side seam, the other side seam, you find the centre front, and then go back round so that your facing matches the other side of the zip. I'm going to sew that on with a 1.5 seam allowance, and then you can choose to either stitch in the ditch to get your waistband facing attached, or hand sew. So once you've got your waistband facing on, then you've already ironed your fold down on the inside, so that will enclose all of your seams, and you can pin it from the right side and stitch in the ditch, which is to sew really carefully just under the waistband there. So don't go on the waistband and don't drift too far into your gathering. Get your stitching right in that ditch there. It's time to hem your Brumby skirt. There's a top stitching detail, so you want to be really accurate when you press your hem up. I'm using a hot hemmer because I can get the measurements really accurate, so that when I do my top stitching, I know that it's going to be even all the way round. You can iron on a hot hammer. You don't have to put any pins in that give you a slightly inaccurate hemline. So this has been pressed twice, so I'm on the second press, and then we can put the top stitching from the right side. I hope that's given you some confidence in putting in a zip and pulling up gathers evenly and adding a waistband. All the products that I've used are listed below, so you can go and have a look at those. If you hover over them, they can go into your basket and you can make a kit there for yourself, or you can go and look at the fabric and choose a different colour. Obviously, you're going to need to choose a zip that's well matched with your fabric if it's an exposed zip. You can also try using top stitching thread and a top stitching sewing needle, and you'll get a much thicker top stitch effect, especially if you're using denim, and you can go and check out all those colours too. If you make a Brumby skirt, then please post it up for us to see, so that we can see which fabrics you've chosen. It really doesn't matter how you're modelling your picture. It can be in the kitchen, it can be in the garden, but we'd love to see what you've made. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon.